This is Newsday, BBC World Service, Lawrence Pollard and Claire McDonnell.
And that's where we leave the BBC World Service and open the curtains wide for Radio 4 to see the light. Good morning. This is Jane Steele with your early morning call on Monday, the 13th of July. It's an auspicious date as we're about to ease one of our own coronavirus restrictions and bring back news briefing to start our broadcasting day. The shipping forecast is first up, of course, and before that, a look ahead to later today.
On BBC Radio 4, wartime experiences and their far-reaching consequences.
My father fronted up various anti-war movements, and in 1940 they took him away to prison.
We chart the impact of global conflict on the people who fought and the generations that followed.
All of the years that I've been alive, I've never met anyone else whose father has been a German prisoner of war.
Legacy of War on BBC Radio 4.
It was absolutely something not talked about.
The series continues this morning at 9:30. With previous episodes on BBC Sounds.
And now we join Ben Rich.
Thank you. Good morning. And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 05:05 on Monday the 13th of July 2020. The general synopsis at midnight. Low just west of Bailey 1006, expected East Faroes 1007 by midnight tonight. High 100 miles west of Fitzroy 1030, expected 400 miles west of Fitzroy 1034 by same time. The area forecasts for the next 24 hours. Viking north at 0, south at 0. Southerly becoming cyclonic later 4 or 5. Occasional rain, good, occasionally poor. 40s Cromarty, Forth, Tyne, Dogger. South or southwest, veering west or northwest later 4 or 5, occasionally 6 later, occasional rain, then showers, good, occasionally poor for a time. Fisher, German Bight, Humber, Thames, south or southwest, becoming cyclonic later 4 or 5, occasional rain or showers later, good, occasionally moderate later. Dover, White, Portland, Plymouth, variable 3 or 4, becoming west or southwest 4 or 5, then veering northwest later. Fair, then occasional rain or drizzle, good, occasionally poor later. Biscay, northeast, backing north or northwest 4 or 5, occasional drizzle later, good, occasionally poor later. South Fitzroy, northerly 5 to 7, perhaps gale 8 later in east, fair, good. North Fitzroy, variable 3 or 4, becoming northerly or northwesterly 4 or 5, occasionally 6 later, occasional rain, good, occasionally poor. Seoul, Lundy, Fastnet, southwest, veering north or northwest later 4 or 5, occasional rain or thundery showers, fair later, good, occasionally poor. Irish Sea, southwest 5 or 6, decreasing 3 or 4, veering northwest 4 or 5 later, occasional rain, then showers, good, occasionally poor at first. Shannon, west veering northwest 4 or 5, occasional rain, fog patches, moderate or good, occasionally very poor. Rockall, Malin, west or northwest 5 or 6, occasional rain, moderate or good, occasionally poor. Hebrides, Bailey, cyclonic, mainly west 6 or 7, decreasing 4 or 5 later. Occasional rain, fog patches in north, moderate or good, occasionally very poor in north. Fair Isle, Faroes, southeast Iceland, cyclonic, becoming mainly northwesterly 5 or 6, becoming variable 3 or 4 at times. Occasional rain or drizzle, fog patches, moderate or good, occasionally very poor. And now the weather reports from coastal stations for 0400. Tyree automatic, southwest 3, fog 100 metres, 1017 falling slowly. Stornoway, southwest by south 4, mist 3 miles, 1014 falling slowly. Lerwick, south-southeast 2, intermittent slight rain 13 miles, 1016 falling. Lucas, southwest by west 4, 14 miles, 1017 falling. Bridlington, west by south 2, 1022 falling. Sandetti light vessel automatic, north-northwest 2, more than 27 miles, 1026 falling slowly. Jersey, north-northeast 3, 24 miles, 1026 falling slowly. Channel light vessel automatic, north by west 3, more than 27 miles, 1027 falling slowly. Valentia, southwest 3, moderate showers 2 miles, 1023 falling slowly. Ronaldsway, southwest 4, continuous moderate rain 1.5 miles, 1021 falling. Malinhead, southwest by west 3, slight rain 1.5 miles, 1018 falling slowly. And now we move on to the weather forecast for the inshore waters of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, valid for the following 24 hours, issued by the Met Office at 0500 on Monday the 13th of July. The general situation, an area of low pressure will move slowly eastwards between Iceland and Scotland. Various fronts will edge southeastwards across all areas during the next couple of days. From Cape Wrath to Rattray Head, including Orkney, southwest 4 or 5, veering west 5 or 6, occasional rain or drizzle, moderate or good, occasionally poor in north. Rattray Head to Berwick-upon-Tweed, southerly or southwesterly, veering westerly 4 or 5, occasionally 6 later in south, showers mainly good. Berwick-upon-Tweed to Whitby, south or southwest, veering west or northwest 4 or 5, occasional rain at first, mainly good. Whitby to Gibraltar Point, southwest veering west 3 or 4, then northwest 4 or 5 later, occasional rain for a time, good, occasionally moderate. Gibraltar Point to North Foreland, southerly or southwesterly, veering northwesterly later 3 or 4, fair then occasional rain, good, occasionally moderate later. North Foreland to Selsey-Bill, variable 3 or less, becoming southwesterly 4 or 5, occasional rain later, good, occasionally moderate later. Selsey-Bill to Lyme Regis, variable 3 or less, becoming west 4 or 5, then veering northwest 3 or 4 later, occasional rain for a time, good, occasionally moderate. Lyme Regis to Land's End, including the Isles of Scilly, variable 3 or less, becoming west or southwest 4 or 5, veering northwest later, occasional rain for a time, good, occasionally poor for a time. Land's End to St David's Head, including the Bristol Channel, southwest 3 or 4, veering west 4 or 5, then veering north later, occasional rain or drizzle for a time, moderate or good, occasionally poor for a time. St David's Head to Great Orme Head, including St George's Channel, southwesterly, veering westerly, then northwesterly later 4 or 5, occasionally 6 at first in north, occasional rain or drizzle, fair later, moderate or good, occasionally poor at first. Great Orme Head to the Mull of Galloway, southwest, veering northwest later 4 or 5, occasionally 6 at first, occasional rain or drizzle at first, good, occasionally poor at first. Isle of Man, southwest, veering west or northwest 3 or 4, increasing 5 at times, occasional rain or drizzle at first, good, occasionally poor at first. Lochfoyle to Carlingford Loch, southwest, veering west or northwest 3 or 4, increasing 5 at times, occasional rain or drizzle, then showers, good, occasionally poor at first. Mull of Galloway to Mull of Kintyre, including the Firth of Clyde and North Channel, southwesterly, veering westerly or northwesterly 3 or 4, increasing 5 at times, occasional rain or drizzle, then showers, good, occasionally poor at first. Mull of Kintyre to Ardnamurchan Point. Southwesterly veering westerly 4 or 5, occasionally 6 in north. Rain or drizzle, then showers. Good, occasionally poor at first. Ardnamurchan Point to Cape Wrath. Southwest veering west 5 or 6. Occasional rain, then showers. Good, occasionally poor at first. And the Shetland Isles, south or southeast, veering southwest, then becoming cyclonic later, 4 or 5. Occasional rain or drizzle, fog patches, moderate or good, occasionally very poor. And that completes the shipping bulletin, but I'll be back with a general weather forecast in a few minutes.
Ben Rich, thank you. This is BBC Radio 4. It's 5:30 on Monday, the 13th of July. Good morning and welcome to our first news briefing after the lockdown. I'm Jane Steele. The government is launching a campaign to encourage businesses and individuals to prepare for the end of the Brexit transition period. More details are to be announced today about the UK's new points-based immigration system. South Africa has banned alcohol sales for a second time this year to help its health system cope with the coronavirus. And in sport, Manchester City will learn this morning if its appeal against a 2-year ban from Europe has been successful. Ministers are taking action to explain the changes that will occur at the end of the year when Britain leaves the EU's customs union and the single market. An advertising campaign entitled The UK's New Start, Let's Get Going, will advise travellers to get comprehensive health insurance, as the European Health Card will no longer be valid. There will also be a 100-page document explaining how businesses should navigate new customs rules. The Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove will set out some of the changes in the Commons today. But Labour's Shadow Health Minister Justin Madders says he's worried there will be chaos at the end of the year because, as he put it, the government isn't doing the hard work now.
I'm not quite sure what we're getting ready for yet because we haven't actually got a deal. And with all the uncertainty around coronavirus, I'm not sure how much value information being pumped out at this stage is going to be for issues that are going to be happening next year. It does sound a little bit like a propaganda exercise.
The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, will give more details of how the UK's points-based immigration system will operate when it comes into effect on the 1st of January. People who want to work in the UK, whether they're from the EU or elsewhere, will need 70 points to be eligible to apply for a visa. Points will be awarded for being able to speak English, having a job offer from an approved employer, and meeting a minimum salary threshold. Concerns have been expressed that the social care sector, where salaries are low, won't be able to recruit foreign workers. The Conservative MP for Winchester, Steve Bryan, says there will be exceptions for health and care sectors.
It's not right to say exactly that, the 25,600 is the threshold. There is provision within the bill, and I understand what will be announced, that if you earn less than that, you will be able to apply. And that would then allow us to offer a job, for instance, in a shortage occupation like the care sector.
South Africa has introduced new restrictions to help contain coronavirus, including a ban on sales of alcohol for the second time this year. A nighttime curfew has been imposed and the wearing of masks outdoors is now compulsory. 250,000 people in the country have tested positive so far. President Cyril Ramaphosa said the alcohol ban would take pressure off the health system.
There is now clear evidence that the resumption of alcohol sales has resulted in substantial pressure being put on hospitals due to motor vehicle accidents, violence, as well as related trauma that are alcohol-induced.
Beauty salons, spas, tattoo parlours and nail bars will welcome their first clients in almost 4 months today in a further easing of lockdown restrictions in England. But they won't yet be able to provide treatments which require them to be very close to a client's face for an extended period of time. Leslie Brer from the Association of Beauty Therapists and Cosmetologists says that means many businesses in the sector will continue to struggle.
In some cases, they haven't even got enough bookings to open for one day out of the week because 80-90% of their treatments are in the facial area. They don't even know whether it's going to be a good idea to actually open at all because some of them are not even able to cover staff salaries with the money that they have in the diary so far.
Restrictions are also easing in Scotland. Indoor shopping centres can reopen from today as long as customers wear face coverings, and visitors will be allowed back onto hospital wards. Pubs, restaurants and hairdressers will be allowed to open on Wednesday. Exit polls suggest that voters in Poland have re-elected their Conservative President Andrzej Duda. He's projected to win about 2% more votes than his rival, the socially liberal mayor of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski. The National Trust is reopening some of its historic houses for the first time in 4 months. Lockdown is estimated to have cost the organisation around £200 million. Visitors will be allowed at 5 properties today in a test run of new rules intended to keep them and staff as safe as possible. That's the news, and now with the weather, today's forecast is Ben Rich.
Jane, thank you, and good morning to you. A frontal system pushing southeast across the British Isles during today will bring some outbreaks of rain for many. There will generally be quite a lot of cloud around as well, but I'll begin the forecast across the southeast of England because here we're getting off to a bright start. There'll be some spells of sunshine through the morning, I think more cloud into the afternoon, but rain won't arrive here until pretty late on in the day, and it's going to be warm as well with highs of around 24 degrees. Then for southwest England, for Wales, for the Midlands and for eastern England, well, a largely dry start for most, but cloud and patchy rain will push its way southeastwards as we head through the late morning and into the afternoon. And some of the bursts of rain could be on the heavy side. Temperature-wise, well, we're looking at highs between 17 and 22 degrees. And then across all of northern England, Northern Ireland and Scotland. Well, here we'll have some cloud and patchy rain around this morning, but much of that should tend to clear, I think, quite quickly. We're going to hold on to a lot of cloud, though, through the day, largely dry into the afternoon, just 1 or 2 showers here and there. But I think across parts of eastern Scotland and then later northeast England, there is a decent chance of seeing some sunshine breaking through. And at top temperatures between 17 and 20 degrees for most. Now, as we head through this evening and tonight, it's going to stay predominantly cloudy. There'll be some rain across the southeast of England, some spots of drizzle elsewhere, rather misty and murky, and a very mild night in prospect. That's all from me. Jane, back to you.
Thanks, Ben. Time now for a glance at some of the newspapers. The Daily Express leads on what it describes as the government's £93 million publicity blitz to get the UK ready for Brexit. The paper says individuals and companies will be directed to a website featuring a checker tool to identify the necessary steps they need to take, and a team of telephone advisors will be available to help businesses. The Times has a less optimistic take on the story, warning that the post-Brexit era will bring a rise in holiday insurance costs. The paper says the reason is that from the 1st of January, Britons will no longer be entitled to free or subsidised healthcare within the EU, and treatment for even minor injuries will be charged for. Foreign criminals sentenced to more than a year in jail will be banned from Britain, reports the Daily Telegraph. According to the paper, the new immigration rules being announced today will give ministers the power to expel persistent foreign offenders, such as thieves, burglars and pickpockets, even if they've been sentenced to less than a year in prison. The front page of the Financial Times predicts a new clash between Westminster and the devolved administrations in Scotland and Wales over how to allocate powers that will return to the UK from Brussels. The paper says Boris Johnson's government is drafting legislation that would give it the ability to decide rules on state aid to businesses. The Scottish and Welsh governments say that should be their responsibility. There's a warning on The Guardian's front page that councils in England are likely to shed thousands of jobs and cut services because of lost income from their commercial investments during the coronavirus crisis. According to the paper, over the past 4 years, the local authorities have invested £7.6 billion in office blocks, retail parks, airports and cinemas as they sought alternative sources of income. But lockdown measures have forced many of these facilities to close. 2 of the front pages carry a warning that people who've recovered from the coronavirus could lose their immunity within just a few months. The Daily Telegraph says 2 separate studies by King's College London and researchers in Munich have found that the level of antibodies against the virus drops significantly within a short period of time, potentially leaving people vulnerable to a second infection. A scientist told The Guardian the finding meant that when an effective vaccine against the virus was found, people might need to receive more than 1 shot. I'll look at the papers. Business news now. A study has found that big companies around the world are likely to borrow an additional £800 billion this year to help them survive the coronavirus pandemic. With more, we're joined live by our business correspondent, Andrew Wood.
Good morning. Borrowing surged last year, mainly to fund takeovers. But Janus Henderson, which made this forecast, says this year companies are making sure there's enough cash just to pay the bills. Total company debt globally is likely to rise above £7 trillion. That means some big companies will owe more than some countries. Sales of cigarettes have accelerated the decline since the introduction of plain packaging and higher taxes in the UK. Bath University says sales were dropping by 12 million cigarettes a month before Packs lost their branding in 2017. That rate's then increased to 20 million. Markets, the pound buys $1.26.6 and €1.11.7. Shares, and in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index ended the morning session 0.9% higher at 25,963.
Thanks, Andrew. Sport, and England's cricketers have lost a gripping first test to the West Indies in Southampton. With more on that and a crucial announcement for Manchester City's immediate future, here's Paul Serres.
The West Indies beat England by 4 wickets in the opening test of their 3-match series in Southampton. Jermaine Blackwood top-scored with 95 as the tourists chased down their target of 200 just after tea on the final day. The second test match begins this Thursday at Old Trafford. Lewis Hamilton won the Styrian Grand Prix ahead of Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. A 12-year-old boy has been arrested by police investigating racist abuse sent to the Crystal Palace footballer Wilfried Zaha. The Ivory Coast international revealed he had received the messages on social media before Sunday's Premier League game against Aston Villa. Villa won the game 2-0. In Sunday's other Premier League matches, Spurs beat Arsenal 2-1 in the North London derby. Wolves boosted their hopes of a Champions League place with a comprehensive 3-0 win over Everton, and Bournemouth came from behind to beat Leicester City by 4-1. And Manchester City will find out in the coming hours whether their appeal against a ban from European competition for 2 years has been successful. UEFA excluded the club from their tournaments as punishment for what they called serious breaches of financial fair play. Here's the City boss, Pep Guardiola.
It was issued a long time ago. Maybe 90% of the people who were on the pitch or on the backroom staff were not there. But we're going to see. Respect the decisions, but I try to be involved knowing exactly what happened, and I have fully confident about what the club has done.
The Court of Arbitration for Sports decision is expected at 9:30 this morning.
Now look ahead to some of the items in the diary for later in the day. The government will launch a consultation on a proposal to double the maximum sentence for those found guilty of assaulting emergency workers in the line of their duty. Under the plan, the sentence would be 2 years. Defendants charged with historical child sex offences dating back to between 2008 and 2016 are to appear at Wolverhampton Crown Court. A total of 26 people, mainly from the Walsall area, are due in court over 2 days. Finally, a glance back at some of the stories that were making the news on this date in earlier years. In 2018, President Trump had tea with the Queen at Windsor Castle and held talks with the then Prime Minister Theresa May at Chequers. He rode back on his earlier criticism of Mrs May's Brexit strategy and described her as an incredible woman. Tens of thousands of people around the UK took part in protests against Mr Trump's visit. 2 years earlier, Mrs May became the country's second female Prime Minister after the Brexit vote prompted David Cameron's resignation. As she arrived in Downing Street, she pledged to end burning injustices and help those who are just about managing. 9 years ago, at the height of the phone hacking scandal, Rupert Murdoch abandoned his long-held ambition to take full ownership of the satellite broadcaster B-Sky B. Days earlier, he was forced to close the tabloid News of the World, which was at the centre of the scandal. The then Labour leader, Ed Miliband, welcomed the decision.
This is a victory for people up and down this country who have been appalled by the revelations about phone hacking, who have thought it's beyond belief that Mr Murdoch could, when this criminal investigation is going on, expand his stake in the British media.
The Hollywood sign was officially dedicated in Los Angeles in 1923. It originally read Hollywoodland and was an advert for a new housing development. And finally, Queen Victoria became the first sovereign to use Buckingham Palace as an official residence when she moved in on this date in 1837, 3 weeks after coming to the throne. And that's the end of this morning's news briefing.